Hey, how's it going? It is Friday, November 22nd, and I'm Devin. I handle the artist relations side of everything going on here. And today we're going to talk about pickups. If you didn't know, we have pretty much every pickup we make is now available to order on their own. Everything is custom ordered. So it's not, you're not just limited to your standard black bobbins, 6 string. We have 6, 7, 8 strings. You can do covers, you can do, foil covers, black covers, nickel covers, zebra, all kinds of stuff. And lead time's a couple months, but I think that's pretty good for custom looking stuff. Kai, what's up? Dylan, what's up? Gianluca V, gonna be watching the VOD. Okay. Typhon needs a 27 fret option. Yeah, this one here, my DS6. I went with 22. For me, on these kind of guitars, first off, I rarely go up that high, but I really like. I keep whacking this into my desk. That's cool. On a guitar like this, I don't like when the neck pickup ends up getting pushed a bit closer. And I don't think that ours, now that I've seen more 24 fret Typhons out there, I'm like, oh, doesn't happen. But a lot of these type of shapes, neck pickup gets pushed closer, and then I'm like, I need there to be a little bit of space there. But yeah, so this guitar, it's got my cauterizers in it. And this is the 6-string version. Sounds pretty mean. And this is straight up just my live patch that I use with Acacia strain. But yeah, how do I like the Typhon compared to the Tartarus? I like them both. So my thing, I like changing things up. I like to me, I've always liked guitar players where it's like, you're not seeing them playing the same guitar all the time. Like, I'm playing this kind of shape. I love James Hetfield. I think it's cool when he's playing something like this. I like when he's got a V. I like when he's playing a kind of LP type shape thing. There's so many cool guitars, and I don't want to limit myself to just one shape and have that be like that's what I play forever. But as far as how I like them both, I like them both equally in different ways, but neck and neck. I like the Tartarus is a bit more pointy. Obviously they're both pointy guitars, but the Typhon can go, you can play a lot of stuff on this and it fits. You can see there, ZZ Top would use a shape like this, or Metallica, or Acacia strain. Then you get into like the Tartarus, and that's pretty much like you're shredding on that thing. That thing is there for one reason. It does really mean stuff. It would be silly, I think, to play at least on my guitars with the Tartarus with a single bridge pickup and everything. Some things it's not going to be able to do, but it does what I want it to do very, very well. And those all have, cauterizer, which I've been playing for a long time, and I'm happy that it was with Guitar Marie before, and I'm happy now that Balaguer is where the home is for this, because it's a special pickup. I think it's, you know, the bridge is, it's 18.8K, neck is 14.6, and it's hot, but it's not so hot that it's unusable. It can do a lot of really cool stuff. Like if I go to my clean here, using my quad cortex, and for some reason my my cortex control is not syncing up today, but cleans like bridge. This one I can coil tap on, so bridge tapped. And then neck again is it's cool. And then, you know, I like the bridge pickup. Just squeals just jump out of it. Pretty fun thing here. Where did the chat go? I've lost the chat. Hold on. There it is. There it is. But yeah, cool. You have, Dylan's got 3 Balaguer builds in the queue. Yeah, I just like it. They really they pop out. But it's one of those things where, because it's a triple ceramic like stack for the magnets in this, and some ceramic pickups to me, not all of them, but there's some of them that are very like, when you're like, you know, chugging, and you get this really like high end kind of like just knifey sounding. Just it's a bit shrill, and these I don't really get that out of. I can still get those squeals, but they're not overpowering. And I think this stack kind of gives us that, as opposed to just using like a giant, just huge ceramic magnet that is overpowering. Like I've got some pickups here that are from not us, but they're this bridge pickup. It's an 8 string, but it's 56K. It's a lot. But Hypernovas, I can show you. Let me switch guitars really quick. This is my Diablo 7. It's a 27-inch scale length. And this has Hypernovas in it. Because Hypernovas, I also really like these as well. They can do the mean stuff too. really like the Hypernovas. I think that if I wasn't playing the cauterizer, I would, if the cauterizer didn't exist, I would probably use the Hypernovas. They're not as hot. It's a 17.2 on the bridge and a 12.2 on the neck. And it's not like the stack, it's just a ceramic magnet. And again, not too shrill. I think that like when Joe kind of came up with this pickup recipe, he knocked it out of the park. And I do think having it be like the output not being as high as it is on the cauterizer, it leads itself to like the cleans are really good and split as well. Like sounds pretty good. And I will say these strings on this guitar are a bit older, but I haven't played any shows with this, so they're not like sweat on. And they sound really good if you are like, this is a good fuzz with a like octave down thing layered. And some pickups, like they just kind of, when you do that kind of thing, they can't handle it. Like the signal is just, it's not right. But these sound pretty solid doing that. Yeah, so that's the Hypernovas. I like them. Let's see. You have Hypernovas in your Hyperion. Yeah, they're pretty nice. Yeah, and part that you're right there. They have a little less low end, I would say, and part of that is because Acacia Strain is playing in drop G sharp and drop F, and bass in our band is very important as far as like the instrument. Our bass player Griffin has the real like chains against the brick wall kind of tone, and if you have too much low end on the guitar side, you can really overkill everything. So I like cutting it out a little bit, because I can always add that like in EQ, but you can't really dial back like frequencies on a pickup. It's just, that's there. You can't really cut it without making it sound weird. So yeah, I like how it sounds. Like Failure Will Follow, our record that we put out last year, was that one 8-string, and it's all cauterizer. So you can kind of hear how it does with the low tunings, where it doesn't get muddy, which I think is important. Thankfully, pickup builders across the whole spectrum have really adopted like the extended range stuff. I've been playing 7-string guitars since like the early 2000s, and back then it was like you had like the Blaze, and that was pretty much it. If you wanted like that or the EMG 707, and they're fine pickups, but it was kind of, I felt like all pickup builders, like I said, have really increased the quality and sound that people want. Because back then it was like, okay, we'll take a 6-string pickup and just kind of make it bigger. And sometimes when you're adding that extra string and like the lower tuning, the same thing doesn't apply. Or I've seen it happen where companies have made like a 7-string version of a 6-string pickup, and they've changed it so much that it doesn't sound at all like what you had before. So it's an interesting world as far as pickups go, and I've played a lot of them, and I'm really happy with like what we can do. And I also think that what we're offering now as like far as custom options, um, at the price point, I just don't think you're getting a better deal anywhere. And with how the economy is for everybody right now, having options that you're like, oh, I can put pickups in my guitar without spending, you know, what I pay in rent to fill the thing up. So it's cool because I know there was a point in time where it was like pickups, easy option. Like get a guitar, change them out. So now we want to bring that kind of mentality back to where you're not really breaking the bank, but you're also not buying like a budget product. So I'm really happy with like where we're sitting right now and what options we have available. Yeah, like I mean, Dylan, I like that too. It's just it's cool because for the longest time that was just not an option for most people, especially if you're playing extended range stuff. It's like, yeah, you can do black bobbin, or you can do a soap bar. That's it. So thankfully, most people, most brands have now expanded that quite a bit, but there's still few options out there, and I'm glad we have quite a few just starting off. Any chance we'll be opening up the shop for in-stock pickups again? Right now, we're not planning to like have things in stock. We're just trying to do custom orders, just because the wait time is not that long, and when we have in-stock things, we have a lot of pickups that we offer. It would be like a pretty massive investment to order in stocks for everything, and basically it would be like we just have black. So let's say we have black evergreens, feral, Trainobuckers, fission buckers, hypernovas, muramasas, cauterizers, and then all of our single coils and our P90s and all that stuff. There would be it'd be a pretty large investment to have all those, and then there'd be a lot of stock that could sit for a long time, and it makes more sense to have it customizable. Everyone can get what they want, and it'll look how they want it, because we had discussed that, where it's like, oh, we should have stuff in stock so people can get it quickly, but custom stuff is still pretty quick for a custom product. And I just put myself in the shoes of like, okay, let's say that I'm a customer and I want cauterizers for my guitar, and my guitar, all the hardware, everything's gold. I'm like, oh, I'd love gold covers. And I'm like, oh, well, they have black ones. It's like, it's the pickup I want, but doesn't fit the aesthetic I'm going for. And it's either, okay, I'll just go with something else, or, oh, hey, I can custom order this. Yeah. So we're going to stick with the custom orders for now. If the pickup side of things picks up, maybe we'll have in-stock stuff in the future, but right now we don't have any plans for it. Ooh, 8-string Muramasa. That sounds awesome. That's a really fun pickup. I've always been a fan of a blade pickup. They always sound good, like, and they just look cool. Yeah, we opened up the books for custom orders like yesterday or the day before. We've got all of our videos up on YouTube now that Gerard Vachon did, and Stephen Ward edited and did the post-production and stuff, and they're great, just kind of showing off all of the pickups we offer. It's quick little videos, but yeah, everything's pretty much, the cauterizer has its own page on the website, and then everything else is like, it's all there. So the books are open, and I'm like I said, I'm happy with what we're doing. I'm happy that we have pickups that are better than like stock pickups. Because again, I'm sure if you've been playing long enough, you know how that was for the longest time. You get a guitar, and the first thing you're going to do is put something else in it because it comes with, you know, whatever just, you know, stock pickups that the brand themselves made, and there wasn't much thought put into them besides like, oh, it's a metal guitar, make it hotter, or oh, it's like a rock guitar, make it, you know, a little more subdued. We don't want to do that. We want our pickups to be something where you go, wow, that sounds awesome. I want that in my guitar. Fat Apache, no comment, but I've owned plenty of guitars that had those in them at one point and no longer have those in them. It's funny, pretty much every guitar has a cauterizer in it, obviously. But yeah, it's like every Balaguer pickup I've played has like its own flavor, and I like that. I haven't played anywhere I'm like, oh, I don't like this. When you're not playing Acacia Strain, what band songs do you like to play? Yeah, I like playing CKY stuff. It's fun, you know, good. Most of it's D standard, which is what my DS6 is set up for. That I like playing Death. I really like, and I did kind of a poor attempt at improv there at the intro, but I like being like warmed up and like kind of just playing with backing tracks just to think about different voicings and things I can do and go, oh, wow, that thing I did right there when I was just messing around, I like that. I want to use that kind of idea somewhere. But yeah, a lot of stuff. I'm in like writing mode right now, so I've been writing a lot for, you know, our band's new stuff. But I also try to write a lot of other things just because to me, the idea of writing outside of your comfort zone, writing outside of your box, all of that, it makes writing the stuff that is your primary focus, it makes it much easier. Like, let's say, you know, I'm playing, you know, really heavy, low-tuned metal, but if I'm like, okay, I want to write something that sounds like Stone Temple Pilots, or I want to write something that sounds like Foo Fighters or whatever, and it's like not something I normally write, but I can kind of dissect and figure out, oh, these are the things that work for this band. This is the kind of stuff that they do. Why does it work? How can I take an idea like that and change it to make it work for something I'm doing? And you're just kind of adding more things into your toolkit. You know, not like you're going to use them all the time, but if I just focus on writing stuff that sounds like heavy low-tune metal, it'd be like, yeah, the only tool I own is a jackhammer, and sometimes you don't want to use a jackhammer when you're trying to build a house for every job. Jackhammer's fun, though. But, yeah. It's just, my favorite tools, though, are just guitars. I love playing guitar. QC Train, yes. Me and Griffin have been playing him. Mike, I think, is still... He might be switching to the QC, actually. He was on Kemper for a while, but I jumped over and just lives on a small pedal board. And when we were in Europe, it was great just having, like, I have a Pelican case that is carry-on size. And that, I've got a Duncan Power Stage because we're running direct anyways. For us, cabs are just stage volume. So, like, if you're in the very front row, like, you're still feeling something. So I don't need them to be, like, crazy, but outside of my own, I would say I really like the Espada. Like, I mean, outside of, like, Diablo and then, like, Typhon and Tartarus, the Espada is just, it's super comfortable to play. It balances really well. I love the looks of it. I have one of the USA Espadas, which I want to say has ferrules in it. It's currently I'm messing around. I'm doing some wiring stuff on it slowly, so it's currently out of commission. But nothing wrong with it. I just wanted to change some stuff up. But yeah, just super fun guitar. That was one of those very rare guitars for me, which I'm sure everybody has guitars like this where you had no intention of like buying a guitar and then you pick it up and play it and you go, makes you mad. You're like, I guess I have to get this, and that happened. Viper shape would be crazy. I love that stuff too. I always thought like the Viper and like the more kind of like modern-ish SG kind of shapes, love them. Love how they look. We should do that, but who knows? Who knows what's going on in Joe's mad scientist brain? He's always showing me stuff, and I'm like, what? Where are you coming up with this stuff? Yeah, way less neck dive for sure. I don't like neck dive, but that's even sometimes it's unavoidable. That's why with the pointier things, when you have a longer neck on them too, like it's hard to get it to balance right. So I just use a giant leather strap, and it's just kind of grippy, like on my shirt and everything. So it just stays there. I mean, this isn't one of those guitars. This balances, but there's ways around neck dive without doing whatever. Yeah, see this. All you can need, big strap will fix most of that, but yeah, I had a bass one time. It was like a jazz bass. The whole thing was like walnut, and it was like built with Warmoth parts. Just a friend of mine had it built, and he owed me for something, and he was like, "You just want this bass?" And I was like, "Sure." And every time you'd stand up with that thing, it like pointed straight to the floor, and I'm like, this is unplayable. And it was like heavy, so even like a big strap, it just pulled your shirt down, and you're like, okay, I gotta get rid of this thing. Yeah, walnut is heavy, and I don't get me wrong, I like a heavy guitar. I have been known, like in orders I placed in the past, where like I've been like, give me the heaviest piece of mahogany you have for this body. Like I don't necessarily want that to be the way it goes into production, but I like feeling the weight of a guitar. Like this one was as one of the heavier ones. I have a 77 like Les Paul copy, weighs 12 pounds, and that thing, and which 12 pounds is a lot for a guitar, especially like that kind of shape, because it's not a big guitar. Like this is a much bigger guitar, but that thing weighs way more. But yeah, 9.5 is still good. That's girthy. Yeah, I know people like, it's also like, it's weird. I like all kinds of stuff, but there's something about a light guitar that's done right, where it's like it feels like intentional. I love it. I like that too. I don't know if I'd like it live, because I like to feel the weight like when I'm moving around, but it's like, when you feel it, when you feel that guitar that feels light but it shouldn't, if that makes sense, where you're like, something's not right here. You're like, this species of wood they used should not be this light. And obviously there's lots of things like mahogany. So many things fall under the umbrella of that. But anyways, if it sounds good, it sounds good. I do, after playing a lot, I do think that while wood absolutely plays a factor, it is not the end all be all of like what your guitar is going to sound like. It's like hardware, pickup height, And the wood is there, but it's not like the craziest thing that's gonna make or break. There'll be EQ differences, but that's all stuff that you can, EQ out. I've always been partial to, I like a mahogany body and maple neck. Since I've been with Balaguer, I've been going with roasted maple just because I like the added stability with touring. I'll just see a fellow caveman. Headless guitars feel right when they're light, but yeah, baritones need to be anchors. It's funny. There's a guitar that pops up on like reverb every once in a while. It's an Ibanez artist from like I want to say maybe 77, that was built for the NAMM show, as just like a novelty piece. Like, oh, just look at this. It's a solid brass guitar and it weighs 75 pounds. I'm like, I want to play it. I know that it has to sound bad, but I just want to play it and be like, ugh. And just like, oh, you like heavy guitars? Well, guess what? You goofed up. Yeah, I see it, and it's like, it always gets a little bit cheaper, because at one point it was like 30 grand, and now it's like 15. I'm like, drop it down another 14. Drop it down another 14 grand, and I'll buy it. $1,000 all day. I mean, that's probably what that amount of brass costs, but yeah, what are your guys' favorite wood and pickup combos? Because obviously they do sound different, based on the wood. Obviously I like mahogany and cauterizers. Weird, but everyone's got their preferences. Outside of Balaguer pickups, I like, on a mahogany body guitar, the DiMarzio Deactivator X. That pickup sounds really good in like mahogany body maple top guitar. But it's one of those pickups that, like, in other guitars, I'm like, eh. But that wood combo, that pickup, great. So it's fun to experiment around, and we have like so many now that you can say, oh, let me figure out what works. Swamp Ash, yeah, I love Swamp Ash. I have not had a Swamp Ash guitar in a long time. I used to have I got in high school. It was a Parker P40, which is one of the import made Parkers where there was no fiberglass or anything like that. It was basically just the shape, but it was a Swamp Ash guitar, and it was the right kind of light, and it was fun to play. I definitely like to try Swamp Ash again. And I learned something recently, that Ash and Swamp Ash it's the same species. It's just, if it weighs under a certain amount, they just call it Swamp Ash. I read that from like one source, so that may be just somebody lying, but I was like, that makes sense. It looks the same. But usually when I think of an Ash guitar, I think of like a like natural Ash, one of like the PV like T40 basses or whatever, where you're like, oh, best pickup for metal aside from cauterizers, I'd say I like the Hypernovas. I think that like, I want to say I would like the Muramasa a lot, but I haven't played it much. I tried it one time, so I'd have to spend some time with it. But outside of our pickups, the Mike in our band, he uses a Duncan Jupiter, the Wes Hauk signature. Really fun, good sounding pickup. And then also like the Nazgul Sentient combo. Like, I use that for years. It's a great combo, and it's pretty easily available wherever. But yeah, aside from cauterizer, I really like the Hypernova because they are similar, but not quite the same. Also, aside from no tone knob, um, tone knobs? As like, why am I not using a tone knob? Because anything I'm doing like for metal kind of stuff, Acacia strain stuff, there's nothing I ever need to adjust the tone knob on. And my thing with that is when we play, I sweat a lot, and the more things there are that can be affected by sweat, the more likely that something is going to fail and cause me a sonic issue, technical difficulties during a set. So it's kind of like I'm gonna eliminate the tone knob because I don't use it. On the first, like the Tartarus, I didn't have neck pickups because in a live setting, I'm not using a neck pickup. Just one pickup, one knob, let's go. But I've seen people do no knobs, and I'm like intrigued by that. But it's also like I don't want to have to like rely on a volume pedal or programming everything to where like, I've got mutes programmed in like via MIDI. So I want a volume knob. But tone knob, I don't. At least for guitars that I'm using for Acacia strain, I don't need a tone knob. But I also think like I want them on some things because you can change how things stuff. Bridge pickup only all day. Yeah, I mean, I like neck pickups, but the aesthetic of single bridge is great, but I also big fan of like bridge humbucker and like a single coil in the neck. That look is always cool. Like I have a guitar in progress right now that's got that layout. That's going to be fun. Yeah, just on off switch is also great. But I'm iffy on switches because I feel like every guitar I've ever owned, I've had a switch issue just from me sweating into it because we walk out on stage and I'm just like, I'm dripping. There's nothing I can do about it. But yeah, I've seen some no pickup guitars. We built some, and it's strange, but I respect it. If that's what you're going for, cool. I will say the thing I hate, which doesn't really happen much anymore, but I remember there was a point with a lot of 80s guitars, like you'd find like some cool 80s shred guitar, and then it's got like 4 knobs and like a 5-way switch, and then like 3 mini toggles, and then there's a button that does something, and you're like, I don't know what any of this does, because you're like, I didn't switch, or I didn't put this together, so I don't know what these control, and I'm like, this sounds different, but I don't know why. So yeah, I hate when guitars have like a million switches, unless, yeah, really it does come to like the BC Rich, the bitch back in the day, those would have like all the knobs and switches, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this does. The exclusion is if you have like a Sustainiac in your guitar and you have to have like, the switches control that, cool. But a lot of them, it's like, what is this switch doing? I can't tell. Or it's so old that doesn't work anymore, and I'm like, this sounds the same to me. One last question. Any suggestion on speakers aside from vintage 30s? I don't like a 15-inch guitar speaker. I think it's too woofy. I've seen there were a lot of death metal bands at a certain point that were doing that with like, what was the company? Out of Illinois, not Emperor, Vader. Vader was doing like a 15-inch guitar speaker cab, and it adds too much low end in the wrong way, in my opinion. I am a die-hard user of the Celestion G12 K100, which they don't make anymore, but you can still find them available. The 100-watt speaker, it's got a big magnet on it, and especially like the low tuning stuff, they have so much headroom when you have like a 412, so you got like a 400-watt cab, there's a lot of headroom, and it takes that low end and it just pushes it forward. It's not like getting lost, because I like a vintage 30, but for anything we're doing, I'm like, ugh, because they can't handle the just the thump, the jun jun. So I would say the G12K 100s, if you can find them, they're worth trying out. They push the low end really well without getting muddy. Very powerful speakers. How would you compare the comfort both sitting and standing for Explorer style versus Super Strat guitars? They're both good. Like, Super Strat kind of thing, Diablo, they're going to balance fine regardless. And then, you've got like our Typhon or any like those kind of like EX shapes. Sometimes they balance really well. Like the standard scale length on those kind of guitars, when they were first designed by Ted McCarty way back in the day, balanced beautifully. But if you want like a longer scale length, then you start to run into that issue. And it's really on an EX kind of shape. This strap button gets pushed further back quite a bit. So even though this is up here, you add a bit to the balance point. If you keep it standard scale, but I know we all probably don't do that. So, like I said, just use a big strap and you'll be fine. But I will say the way I sit, like kind of guitar in between my legs, like the Typhon EX shape guitars, they fit there really well. They're really comfortable. I'm also a lot less picky than I used to be, because I used to be very picky about shape and like, oh, this isn't comfortable, and like, there was a point in time where like I never would have played like a carved top guitar. I always had to have like that arm contour, and I'm just like, oh, that doesn't bother me at all. Like I started wearing these sweatbands just because of sweating and keeping my hands a bit dry during shows, and I realized like, oh, this is just like more comfortable against the guitar, so now I just wear them when I play. And that makes it to where like I've stopped caring about like the shape and the contours of a guitar. I'm just like, oh yeah, it's comfortable. It's all comfortable. Growler shape is great. That's the thing with like offset guitars, is they usually like they balance great. Like when you don't have like an offset guitar, it's kind of like, you have like a Les Paul kind of thing where the body is just so heavy it's not diving, or the Strat, which is just, laid out perfectly. But even this, like the little bit of an offset, like going this way instead of just this way, it adds just enough usually to the balance point to make it work properly. That's like, we were talking about like the kind of Viper SG-ish guitars. The Viper that was more offset balances 1,000 times better. 212, 115 Randall stuff. My first guitar cabinet was a Randall with like Jaguar speakers from sometime in the 80s, and didn't sound bad. Did not sound bad. But yeah, I like trying new stuff. I will say I tried the not this, like a NAMM a few years ago, tried the Obsidian, like from Omega, like that amp, and the cabs that they built now, crazy good. And Mike, who, like, the guy behind Omega, we were talking because back when they came out, I wasn't a fan of the cabs because they were like, they all sounded kind of sterile. And we would talk about that. And he's like, yeah, we over-engineered to where it was like everything was isolated and blah blah blah. But you started to lose the characteristics of what makes a guitar cab sound like a guitar cab. Like when they made the Marshall 412s back in the day, it was like it's a box and you push it really hard and it sounds like it's gonna blow up. And you want to have like kind of that sound of like, contents under pressure. So he started, I don't want to say dumbing down, but he kind of re-engineered everything, and like the cabs now are just, we're still using our orange PPC 412 HP cabs that come with those G12K 100 speakers, and we've had those since I joined in 2013, so 11 years now. It'll be 12 here soon. But yeah, they've been through hell, and they're still kicking. Amp setup EVH 50 watt plus 412. Pedal cable rig for home use. I mean, I play my quad cortex, and I have a cab, and I have my power stage. But I think beyond that, all I would say is get a smaller cab, get something like a 112 just for your house, or for your apartment or whatever, because 412 inside, even with 50 watt head, is gonna be loud. 112 is still gonna be loud, but it's gonna be a bit manageable, because that's the thing with tube amps. You want to push them a bit harder to really get the sound out of them that you want, but that also means volume. And then some people, you can get an attenuator to run it hotter at a lower volume, and that's extra stuff that is, to me, not worth messing with. But yeah, I don't feel much need to play through a real amp now at home, just based on what I can do with plugins and modelers now that I could not do even 10 years ago. Back in the day when it was just I got a Line 6 pod, and you're this sounds so everything's come very far. Pretty much all the modelers out there, Kemper, Quad Cortex, Axe-Fx, Helix, all that stuff sounds good. It's all just kind of which one has the usability and the interface that you like the most. But yeah, 112, I had an orange 112 that I had by my desk many years ago, so I could still run stuff through and see if I was working on tones and stuff at home, on my Axe-Fx. I wanted to be able to see what's this going to sound like through a cab. So I had the 112 for that, to where I didn't want to, blow the whole room up. Although I did have a Rev G dual rec in the room with 2 412s. But I usually didn't play through that. And yeah, the pedal itch is definitely something I feel myself trying to scratch often, but I'm weird with pedals, to where I'll get something and I'm that's cool, but I don't think I'll ever use it. And then it sits for a while, and then I trade it for something else. But I do like I like a good overdrive. I like a good fuzz. If you're into fuzz pedals, get one of these. They're $25, and they sound psychotic. X pattern, separate inputs. Cool, I like that. You run as a 212. Yeah, from my understanding, the Behringer stuff, their facility they have is where a lot of people get their chips for other pedals. So it's the higher end pedal you got might have those same components in it, but yeah, the Super Fuzz, the SF300, it sounds good. And it's funny, I've seen people where they're doing projects to where they're rehousing them in a more sturdy case. But I don't really care. I'm not stepping on the thing. It's just gonna live in my room here and probably never leave. but yeah, it's cool, and I like that they're just so cheap. I got it on like a Black Friday, maybe last year for like $15. It was like half off. You've used yours as a hammer, okay? So they can be stepped on. You can step on them. But yeah, you know, like we said, we were talking pickups before, and to get back on that, like I said, everything's available now. We have a ton of stuff in the shop for custom orders. Um, and I think the price point is right to where if you want to just try something out, it's worth it. And then if it's not your thing, there's probably somebody in one of the groups that would be into it. So try some pickups. They're fun. Changing pickups is fun. And oops. Changing pickups, it's fun. Wiring, it's a skill, but it's one that you get better by just trying. If you haven't changed your pickups before, there's a lot of good videos. It took me a long time to figure out, like, oh, if I wire all of this stuff outside of the cavity and then put it in, it's much easier. Like, put everything in like a piece of cardboard, wire it up, and then pop it in. Because it can be tricky when you're trying to learn to wire inside of like a control cavity. I couldn't tell you how many times I have burned my fingers doing something stupid. I don't burn myself anymore, he says right before he does that very thing, like this week. Yeah, flux is key, because that's the thing is, like, I remember when I started, I'm just like, I just have a hot iron, I'm just like touching the stuff, and I'm like, oh, it melted, and now it's a mess. Yeah, just go straight to the jack. No knobs. Don't even. Just gonna order a guitar. No pickups. Just nothing. No piezo. No pickups. No knobs. Just the bedroom guitar. Literally, like, I don't know. I don't plug it into anything. I just sit there and go. It'd be fun. I don't know why I would do that, but it'd be fun. Give me the Nun guitar with left beef. Joe said no. I mean, we're not doing that. I mean, I get it, though. You don't want to be the company that built, like, the joke guitar, and then you end up, like, on every, not that forums are really much of a thing anymore, but, like, every, Facebook group or whatever, it's just like, oh, look at this thing. And it's like, that's what the person wanted. Sometimes you got to be like, we're not doing that. Chips in USA. Yeah. Nunbucker. Yeah, my friend Adam, who was the person who, like, solidified the original cauterizer, like, design. He built the quad bucker for the quad cream bucker or whatever that Chipson had. He brought it to last year's NAMM. Really funny, really stupid pickup. Just huge. 4 coils. Unnecessary. But big fan of Chipson if you follow that page. But yeah, it has been great chatting with you guys. Come to the end of the stream here. If anybody has any other questions or anything like that, throw them at me real quick. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here, and I hope everybody has a great day. Awkward silence. All right. Well, I'll see you guys next time. It is taco time. That sounds great. I wish I had some tacos available to me. I don't. But everybody, take care. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. See ya.